I'm back with a new topic on chess, and today's topic is opening principles. I hope you are familiar with the three phases of chess game, and the first phase of the game is opening, and the second phase is middle game, and the third phase is end game. So here I'm going to talk about opening principles only, and these are some universally accepted tips which everybody does when they play the chess game, whether he is a beginner or intermediate player or advanced player. Most or not all, but at least most of these principles are followed in some form. But I'm not saying that following the opening principle will confirm that you will win the game or guarantee that you will win the game, but certainly helps to improve your chess game and improve the quality of your game. So, our first topic, let's begin our topic. The first topic is castle quickly. So, when you begin your game, king safety is utmost important, and to safeguard your king, you have to castle quickly. But this also doesn't guarantee that your game will be successful and you will win the game. Being black or white doesn't matter. But castling quickly is applicable when you know that the certain type of opening will be a threat to your king, and in response to those threats you will castle quickly, because most of us know what kind of openings are available to us, and if you know your opponent's opening, then you know that he is going to reply with certain kind of moves which will be fatal to our king, and castling will be a very good move. So castle quickly most of the time, and it will safeguard your king from further attacks. So let's see this on board. Okay, I'm on chess.com right now, and here I have a board setup. Suppose white plays e4 and black plays e5, and white then plays knight f3, and black plays c6, and here comes d4, e takes d4, knight takes d4, knight takes knight, and queen takes knight. So this is a typical Scotch gambit, and one of the variation of Scotch gambit when queen comes to front, and this is a very good bad situation, because in this the center is clear, and all pieces are white only in the center. There is no black pieces in the center, no development for black, and queen is not ready right now. And we can see that queen can give a check here, and e5 check, and then if the by mistake, or if black does a blunder of moving his bishop in front of the king, then queen takes the g7 pawn and wins the rook. So this is the problem here, when you don't have, I mean, your center is open, and your king is exposed, so then you have to do something about it. So this is the best time when you can castle, bring out pieces and castle the king as soon as possible, and safeguard your king. And also, if you see that the black king queen can come to h4 and target the f2 pawn, which is weakness in our side also. So castling is not just for opponent, it is for us also, to make sure that our weakness is not exploited by the opponent. We have to safeguard our queen also, king also. And these openings will make sure that the center is clear. Like for example, we can say queen's gambit. The queen gambit starts with d4, and then black plays something like d5. You want to share the center, so we bring d5, and then we play c4. And if suppose the gambit is accepted and d takes c, then we can move our e4 pawn here. So again you see that this is another kind of central attack where the pawns are exchanged in the center immediately, and attack is directly coming towards the center, and white has full control of the center, and this pawn will be taken by the bishop. In couple of moves, bishop will take this pawn, so it will attack the f7 pawn also. So it's a very difficult situation for black, and white has cleared the spaces around his king and queen, so he can bring more pieces like bishop, black bishop and white bishop and knight immediately. He can develop the pieces very quickly. And this is the reason why castling is very important. When you see such kind of openings, you immediately know that this is going to be a danger for your for the black, and the black will immediately castles. And this is the reason castling first and quickly is very important to safeguard your king. So let's go to the different topic here. The next topic is develop all pieces first. So as we see that as soon as you move pieces, as soon as you move the pawns, you have to make sure that you develop all the pieces first. You bring out every piece immediately, and develop pieces means you make a move at least once to make sure that your pieces are out and not underdeveloped, because a developed piece has some role to play, and it will be defending something or maybe is attacking something. That is what development means, and you have to make sure that all the pieces are active and developed. Okay, so let's go to our board again, and you see what we see here is none of the pieces are developed right now. But if queen decides to or maybe black bishop decides to come to e6, then this is a development, because he made a move and he is trying to protect the particular pawn on the c4. Is trying to protect the pawn. So this is a role is taken. He's taken the role of protecting the pawn and also developing the bishop. Black is also developing the bishop. At the same time is protecting the pawn. Now this is what development of pieces means. The next thing you should do is move pieces only once, and this is very crucial, because moving pieces twice or thrice will only opponent will take advantage of it, and you will lose a tempo in this, because moving without reason, moving your pieces just to get forward quickly is fatal to your pieces, and I will tell you why you lose momentum and tempo. Because, for example, if white brings the push the pawn here, threatening to take bishop here, what will bishop do? Immediately safeguard his position. He will go back. So you see, his very first move itself was not correct, because now he made a move and then white progressed a little bit. White increment the pawn and threaten the bishop and go back, which is actually a loss of move for black. And in similar situation happens when knight comes out and move forward without any reason. Most of the time knights comes out and moves without any reason, and some pawn will push it back. So this kind of moves are actually lost during the opening phase, and you should avoid it. Next thing is controlling the center. So why we develop our pieces? The reason to develop our pieces is to control the center. You should control all the pieces, should control the 4 squares in the center, which is E4, D4, and then E5, D5. Not only that, there are 2 extra squares in one is F4 and F5, the other one is C4 and C5. They are also very important. So if your pieces happen to control all of these 8 squares, then you are good to go, and you have more chances to win the game. So in this case, if black moves E6, then bishop can take C4 pawn, and then now the black is in much weaker position because none of the pieces are in center, and the white pieces are controlling most of the squares. You can see that it's controlling most of the squares. This knight on F3 is controlling these 2 square, which is D4 and E5, and then there are 2 pawns and then a bishop, which is kind of good because which makes the position of white more stronger in the center and has the most probability of winning the game. So develop all pieces with the aim of controlling the center. And how do you decide whether your central control is stronger? Is you can see number of pieces pointing to center and number of pawns pointing to center. If we calculate in that way, you can see only one pawn is managing the center at this point, which is also about to exchange, and none of the pieces and no other pawns is in the center for black. And when compared to white has 2 pawns compared to 1 pawn for black. So this is how you decide how many pieces and how you are controlling the center. So on to the next topic. So don't push pawns without any reason. This is my favorite because I see most beginners do this. They push any pawn without any reason. They just keep pushing pawns. So now what will happen is the white will push this pawn here, or maybe some other pawn, but black will push this pawn here and or some other pawn. But this doesn't make sense. I mean, what is the reason he pushed the pawn? Okay, maybe he want to control this particular square, so I can consider that as a good move. So if white brings out his knight, black plays b5, and these kind of moves are actually a wastage because they out of no reason they push the pawn just to push this kick this bishop, which will come here in the d3 square, and these kind of moves are wastage. I mean, they serve no purpose right now. And also you notice that when they move this pawn, they cannot take it back, and the rook is exposed right now. So this will stay for a long time because now now the knight will not be able to come in front because of this pawn. And even when they exchange, even the black exchanges this pawn, another pawn will replace it. So knight will not come out, and the rook is kind of exposed and stuck. So this is why we should not move any pawn during the opening phase of the game unless necessary. If it is necessary, you can push it, but I see no reason why you push the pawns. But instead of that, you should be able to developing the pieces and controlling the center instead of moving lot of pawns. So this is one mistake beginners do. And next point which you need to take is don't exchange center pawn with a opponent side pawn. Yeah, this is very interesting. You see, we will see this in an opening how it works. So let's take Queen's Gambit one more time. Okay, d4, d5, c4. Here, this is a very clever move because the opening is called Gambit for a reason. Because the moment you put c4, you are actually using a side pawn to exchange with central pawn. Okay, this is why it is called Gambit, and this is the reason why exchange variation will not work most of the time. Most of the time it is denied. They will not exchange and bring the e6 pawn because they want to protect, and this variation for Queen's Gambit is called Queen's Gambit declined. So this is how it works. They know that central pawn are important and we should not exchange it, and that is why they bring another pawn to support the existing pawn in the center. So never exchange anything that with a side pawn, because side pawn when you exchange it, then it is actually giving up the space in the center. Now what happens if we if this exchanges, if they exchange it, suppose white moves e3, then this black decides to exchange, then immediately white will push and move ahead. I mean, now he is controlling the square, white is controlling the square, central square. So this is the idea, to exchange it with the side pawn, central pawn with the side pawn, and take control of the central square. So this is a very nice idea, that whenever you want to clear the center, just use the side pawn to exchange with the central one, and this is one of the trick to take control of center. So next tip is you can neutralize or exchange opponent central pieces. As I said, exchange is with a side pawn will work, and you can take control of the central pieces, center of the chessboard. And neutralizing means sometimes you can simply disable the particular pieces from opponent side, so that they cannot do anything, and this is very easy to achieve. In this position, I play opening e4, and black plays e5. White plays knight f3, and black plays d6, and this is known as Philidor defense. So, and white brings the knight c3, and black brings the knight c6. So next move of white will be to develop his bishop, but interesting thing is that he will pin the knight to the king, and knight is not able to protect this pawn or do anything, because if you think that knight is controlling any of the square in the center, that's not possible, because now even though I do something, I take this, suppose bishop f3 takes the pawn on e5, then he has to take it using the pawn instead of knight, because knight is pinned. So we are actually neutralizing the piece by simply by pinning it, or by any means. Maybe sometimes we can do an exchange. Now here if we exchange this piece, that is also advantageous to us, because immediately pawn will take b takes bishop, and if b pawn takes bishop, then we have a double pawn on the black side, which is bad for black. So this is the kind of ideas we have, and so exchange or neutralize black's opponent pieces by doing this kind of things, tricks. So that's all I have for today, and I hope you like this video. If you like it, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.